everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today for August's reading wrap-up. Before I dive into talking about all the books that I read in the month of August, I just wanted to say a really big welcome and thank you to all the people that have joined the channel recently. I hit 900 subscribers this morning, which I am super duper excited about. So I just wanted to say thank you so much to all those people who have joined recently. Thank you so much to all the people that have been around for a long time and who have always been such huge supporters of my channel. I really appreciate every single one of you, and I just wanted to say that and say thank you and welcome. If you are new here and you've not subscribed yet, then I would absolutely love it if you would do so. It would be amazing and it would really help me to hit my next milestone of 1,000, which would be absolutely amazing and incredible. But anyway, so moving on. Throughout the month of August, I participated in a couple of readathons. So the first one that I participated in was Pick-Pong-a-thon. This is the readathon that is hosted by Crystal over at Bon Book Reviews. There were a few other hosts this year as well, although it's Crystal's readathon based on her TBR game that she plays every single month. And in August, she invites people to join her and play the game with her. So I will link Crystal's channel as well as all the other hosts in the description below. You should go and check them out, subscribe to them as well. They're amazing as well. I was absolutely terrible at the game and I had an absolute train wreck of a TBR as a result. I will link my TBR video for that readathon in the description below. It was a lot of fun to film, even though it was an absolute disaster, and I've been told that it's very funny. So if you want to watch me be terrible at throwing, then go and check that out, and I had a lot of fun. And yeah, so I ended up with 12 books. That is my spread in my reading journal for Pick-Pong-a-thon. I've got little pink hearts next to the ones that I finished. So out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books that were on my TBR, I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Which I'm pretty happy with. I read 9 overall. There was also the summer mixtape readathon that was taking place in the first 2 weeks, I'm pretty sure, of August. This was hosted by Victoria from What Victoria Read, Leanne from Literary Diversions, and Jean from Jean Bookish Thoughts. There was a bingo board, which I have put in my reading journal as well. So there was a bingo board with some self-care kind of prompts and also some reading prompts, and it was based on songs, which hence the summer mixtape. And then there was also the Magical Reads Aurelium Academy autumn read along that I participated in. This is a really amazing, massive readathon hosted by G from Book Roast, and she's created this whole world, and you create a character and you're reading books in order to learn skills and level yourself up as a mage, which is absolutely amazing. It's like playing D&D by reading books, and I absolutely love it. So definitely was super excited to participate in that readathon. This is my spread for that one as well. So I was working towards becoming a Master of Elements. I needed a D in Elemental Studies, an O in Shapeshifting, an O in Animal Studies, an O in Astronomy, and a Q in Restoration. I have got almost all of those grades that I needed for that. That's okay though, because you are allowed to finish the books that you need to read in order to get your skills and the grades before the next semester, basically. So I only have one left that I didn't read yet, and I will read that, or I'll replace it with something else before the next installment, which I think will be in April. Anyway, so that's all the information on the readathons that I participated in throughout the month of August. I had a lot of fun with all of them, and again, all of the people who I'm talking about will be linked in the description below, so you can go and subscribe to the channels, check out the readathons, etc, etc, etc. So let's go on and talk about the books that I read in the month of August. Before I actually do that, I just wanted to show you my shirt. So it says Crazy Cat Lady. I did try to get that in frame while I was chatting with you, but it didn't really work out. But anyway, I think it's a really cute shirt, and to, you know, show how much of a crazy cat lady I really am, I'm wearing a pair of my cat earrings, which I have more than one pair of. My good friend Bibiana bought this for me, so if you happen to be watching B, thank you very much. And yeah, I just think it's really cute, so I thought I would show it to you. Anyway, moving right along to the books. So, as I was saying, I will show you the first books that I read in the month, and I'll go through and talk to you about them in the order that I read them, which is how I always do this. So, that is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. This is a adult contemporary sapphic romance. We follow two main characters. So we follow Delilah Green and we follow Claire. Delilah is I think they're all like late 20s, early 30s. Delilah is a photographer. She lives in New York and she is just starting to kind of get a name for herself, get known within the photography world. Her estranged stepsister is getting married, and her stepsister, whose name is Astrid, hires her to be the photographer for her wedding. Delilah doesn't really doesn't want to go back to her hometown. She doesn't have great memories there. Her father died when she was really young, and she was brought up by her stepmother, who she doesn't have a great relationship with, and so she doesn't have very, very good memories of this town. But she kind of feels like she's obligated to, so she does, and she gets kind of involved with some of the things that are going on with Astrid and Astrid's friends. And one of Astrid's friends, Claire, was someone that Delilah knew from when they were young, and they form a connection. I really enjoyed this. I thought that it was really, really fun, really easy to read, just read really well. I really like the writing style, well written, well paced, etc. Yeah, so I really enjoyed this one. There was quite a bit of nuance in the characters. I thought the characters were really well written. All of the main characters had their own personalities, their own little quirks. So I'm talking about these two, of course, but Astrid and some of the other characters as well. Yeah, I just thought it was really fun. Like I said, I really, really enjoyed it. I definitely think that I would like to read some more of Ashley Herring Blake's work. I know that she's written quite a bit of young adult. I don't know what other adults she's written apart from the next one in this series, which is coming out soon or might already be out. I'm not 100% sure, which I definitely want to read, which is following Astrid's story. Yeah, like I said, it is a romance, but it's more than a romance. It delves into some of what's going on for Astrid. It delves into some of what's going on for Claire. It delves into what's going on for Delilah. There's a lot of character and personality exploration. And yeah, definitely enjoyed this. Highly recommend. Let's see what I wrote in my journal. Pretty much everything that I just said. I thought it was a really, really great development of their relationship as well. There was no like unnecessary lack of communication that could have very easily been fixed by, you know, just talking to each other. There was understandable misunderstandings that happened a long time ago and affected relationships in here, and also meant that there was a lot of tension between the two main characters, but it worked really, really well. So yeah, I really enjoyed the build of their relationship and the way that they communicated with each other. I thought that was done very, very well. I gave this one a 7.43 on Corpile, and that is a 4-star rating. So I was off to a really great start for the month of August with Delilah Green Doesn't Care. The next book I read is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This was my first ever Ruth Ware book and I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say that it was an all-time favourite at all, but I had fun with it. I read it for my In Real Life book club. It is a thriller and it is based around a woman who is a nanny and a childcare worker, and she gets a job as a nanny for this very rich, very well-to-do family who live in a very isolated area of Scotland. The house that she lives in, or that they live in, is a smart house, so everything's connected up to the computer. There are apps on phones that you can use. You can do all sorts of things like open and close curtains, turn on and off lights, music, all this sort of stuff throughout the house. But like I said, I enjoyed it. I wouldn't necessarily say that it was the best written book. I liked one of the twists, but there were two twists that one of them wasn't super believable. Some of the stuff that happens as a result of all the tension and different things, I just don't think was believable because of the age of the characters. I mean, I know that, you know, with any book you're supposed to suspend a certain amount of disbelief, but it does need to make a certain amount of sense, and I just didn't think that it really worked. But like I said, having said that, I did enjoy the reading experience. I thought The Smart House was maybe a little bit of a plot device rather than, like, it was too much of a convenient plot device, if that makes sense. Yeah. So anyway, I gave it a 6.71, which is 3.5 stars. So obviously liked it enough to read it and to enjoy it, and yeah, it was fun, it was interesting, it was a good pace, it kept me going, it was reasonably well written, and 3.5 stars. So moving on to the next book that I read, which was The Silent Patient by Alex Michealides. This is another thriller. So this follows a therapist, and he is completely fascinated by this story of this circumstance where this woman who killed her husband and then was just stopped talking, basically, was placed in a institution for the criminally insane, basically. I know that's not a great way of putting it, but that's kind of the whole thing that is with this book, that, like, I'm just not certain that I appreciated the way that this woman and the other patients in this institution were treated. It was very much of that mindset of the criminally insane. I don't really know that much about institutions like that. I don't really know that much about that sort of therapy, but yeah, I gave this book a 5.71 in Core Pile, which is a 3 stars, but I honestly don't know how I feel about this, and I'm not certain that I read this 3 weeks ago. Since that time, I feel like I've probably thought about it some more, and I think I need to drop at least half a rating, if not a full rating, so it's going to be down to either a 2.5 or a 2. I read the whole thing. I wanted to keep going and find out what the twist was. I wanted to find out what was causing the woman to be completely silent, to have become mute. She's an artist, so there was some stuff to do with the painting, which was really interesting as well. I'm glad that I finished it, because I feel like, so my main problem with this book is that I feel like the therapist was very unprofessional and was behaving in a way that you would not behave if you were a therapist. Like I said, I don't really know that much about therapy, and particularly this sort of therapy where it's dealing with clients with some very serious issues and where there is a crime involved, but I just don't feel like the behaviour of the therapist was in any way professional, and it's not just me that thinks that, the actual other characters in the book also think that, and it was rubbing me up the wrong way as I was reading it. But then at the end, the reveal kind of explains why that was the case, and so then I was able to look back on it and say, well, actually, okay, that does make sense. So maybe my rating is right, maybe it should be a 3 stars, because once you get to the end, you're able to go, oh, okay, I understand now why some of the things that this person was doing didn't sit that well, and there was actually an explanation, and not only were they being unprofessional, but there was, more to the story. I don't know. I'm very conflicted about this book. As you can tell, it was an interesting premise, and it was well executed. I just didn't, that just rubbed me up the wrong way. I just didn't really like it. And even though I now kind of understand why, I still don't really like it. This book is very controversial. Some people love it, some people hate it. I am one of the few people that seem to be very much on the fence. I'm kind of curious to read The Maidens by Alex Michealides as well. But having said that, I've heard very mixed things about that as well. Some people have absolutely loved it, some people have absolutely hated it. So I'm kind of curious to see where I would stand with that one. But anyway, don't really know. The next book is actually back on the shelf here, and that is Gallant by VE Schwab. This is just a stunning, stunning book. I absolutely love the cover on this one. So I bought this book because I absolutely love The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I read it last year, I think, and it was one of my favourite books of last year. I thought it was absolutely beautiful, and I had heard that VE Schwab has written a bunch of other books, and they're all quite different, and I'd heard that if you enjoyed Addie, then this would be the one that you would probably enjoy the most out of their other books, if that makes sense. And so that's the reason why I picked it up, and I absolutely loved it. So we follow a woman, or a young girl. She's, well, I should say a young woman. I think she's 17. You follow her when she is an orphan. She lives in an orphanage and she doesn't really fit in. She's quite an odd bod character. She has a diary that was written by her mother, which has some really interesting illustrations and some kind of quite odd journal entries. And at the end of the diary, it says, I can't remember exactly how it phrased, but basically it says, "Do not go to Gallant." So she grows up in this orphanage reading this diary and rereading this diary, and she, like I said, doesn't fit in with the other girls in the orphanage and isn't particularly liked by the nuns who run the orphanage. Anyway, and then one day when she's 17, a letter arrives from her uncle saying, "We really want to get to know you, the family loves you, please come to Gallant," which is her uncle's kind of estate. So she goes to Gallant, but when she gets there, her uncle is not there, and she comes across her cousin, who is very intense, and it seems like nobody actually wrote the letter. No one knows what happened there. And then other stuff unfolds. Yeah, I thought this was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoy VE Schwab's writing style. I'm now really curious to read some of their other works. I know that they're quite different, but I'm just curious, you know, I'm just curious. Yeah, so I just thought this was absolutely beautiful. My favorite thing definitely about VE Schwab's books that I've read, so this one and Addie LaRue, is the writing. I think that they have a beautiful writing style. Very lyrical, but not super purple, if that makes sense. Just really flows really well. It just feels really beautiful and almost poetic. Yeah, so really enjoyed this one. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. On Corpile, I gave this one a 9, which is 5 stars. So I thought this was going to be my favourite book of the month, but something else beat it, so stay tuned. Then I read Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. This is the second book in the Diviners series. I am currently reading that. I reread the Diviners a couple of months ago, and I'm continuing on with the series, which I hadn't done before. So this book follows a few of the same characters that we followed in the Diviners, and then it also follows a few other characters. In this one, we are dealing with dreams and an epidemic that is sweeping through New York City in the 1920s. So yeah. I'm not going to tell you any more than that because I don't want to give any spoilers. I enjoyed this one. I had a lot of fun with it. I really like Libba Bray's writing style. It's very descriptive without being really purple. All of the kind of things that they have to say. Work is concise, but it's well described, if that makes any sense. There's a lot going on, lots of different pieces of the puzzle. I actually think I enjoyed this one slightly more than the Diviners because I don't love Evie, and Evie was the main character in the Diviners. She's still one of the main characters, but she definitely had less of a role in this one, which I thought upped my enjoyment of it a little bit. So in Corpile, I gave this one a 7.86, which is 4 stars as well. I will say that the main reason why these are kind of getting 4 stars, 3.5, 4 stars rather than slightly higher. Like I said, I really enjoy Libba Bray's writing style. I just realised that you are very moved. I really enjoy Libba Bray's writing style, and I really enjoy the characterization. They're just a bit long. Even though I like the descriptions and I like the way she does descriptions, I feel like she doesn't need to be quite as much detail. I think it's a bit long, but yeah. The next book that I read was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I feel like many of you will know a lot about this already. This has been all over BookTube and I think all over BookTok. Yes, it says the TikTok sensation, and just everywhere for the last couple of years. People are absolutely enamored of this book. I am not. I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong. I had fun with it. I thought it was well written. I thought it was fun. But I'm just not I just didn't love it. I wasn't blown away by it. I feel like it's very, very tropey. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, tropes are tropes because they're well used and well loved, and they were well written. Tropey. I definitely think Ali Hazelwood is a good writer. I enjoyed her writing style. I enjoyed the characterization. I had fun with the book, but I just didn't, I wasn't blown away by it. Becca from the Becca Fowl in particular absolutely loves this book. It's her favorite book in the entire world. I don't know how many times she's read it, which is fine. Absolutely. Glad it's her favourite book, glad she loves it so much. I was very nervous to read it because of how much hype I'd heard about it and because Becca loved it so much. So I can report, Becca, you'll be happy to know that I did enjoy it, but I'm very sorry I can't say it's my favourite book of the year, let alone of all time, not even of the month. It was good, I enjoyed it, didn't love it, had fun, yeah. This is marketed as, and I'm assuming intended to be, a Kylo Ren Rey, so Reylo fan fiction. I couldn't really see that particularly. I will say the main male character, I definitely could see the descriptions of him being not so much Kylo Ren, but Adam Driver. I mean, he's also called Adam, the main character. But the main female character, Olive, I couldn't really see any comparison to Rey at all. It is about these two characters who work at a university as science majors. So he is a professor, she is a postgraduate student, and they start fake dating. They both have their own reasons for why they decide that it's a good idea to fake date, and as you would imagine, it being a romance, the fake dating turns into something else. Like I said, I did really enjoy this one. I don't really like fake dating. I don't get fake dating. I talk about this more in the vlog that I'm currently working on, where I read this for. So I'm not going to go into any more detail about that, but yeah, I don't really like fake dating. I don't really get it as a trope. So considering I don't like it and I still enjoyed this book, I think that shows that Ali Hazelwood is in fact quite a good author. So I gave this one a 6.43 on Corpile, which is a 3.5 stars. The next book that I read, that I finished, was Terra Nullius by Claire G. Coleman. I don't tab books, but I have tabbed the absolute crap out of this one. This book blew my mind. I absolutely loved it. 5 stars, 100%, amazing. Because I don't tend to give things 10 across the board, in Corpile it did come out as a 9.14, but that's still 5 stars. So that's one of the highest ratings I've given anything at all. But yeah, absolutely loved it. Thought it was fantastic. So I don't want to give any spoilers, so I will say, first of all, it's technically a sci-fi. That's all I'm going to say about that. But it is a... I'm just going to read the back to you. Jackie was running. There was no thought in his head, only an intense drive to run. There was no sense he was getting anywhere, no plan, no destination, no future. All he had was a sense of what was behind, what he was running from. Jackie was running. The natives of the colony are restless. The settlers are eager to have a nation of peace and to bring the savages into line. Families are torn apart, re-education is enforced. This rich land will provide for us all. This is not Australia as we know it. This is not the Australia of our history. This Terra Nullius is something new, but all too familiar. Hopefully that gives you enough of an idea of what this book is about, because I'm not going to tell you anymore. Absolutely incredible. Yeah. I don't really know what to say because I don't want to spoil anything. I highly recommend this book. I suggest that everyone should read this book. It's just incredible. I love Claire G. Coleman's writing style. I loved the everything. I loved the everything. The next book that I read was Graceling by Kristen Cashore. This is the first book in the Graceling series by Kristen Cashore. I enjoyed this one. This was my second time reading this book and I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. It is kind of very standard fantasy YA, but it's well done, it's well written, and yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. We follow Katza, who is graced. Now in this world there are people who are graced and they're called Gracelings, and what that means is that they are very supernaturally good at a particular thing. So some kind of skill, they are, pretty naturally good at that skill. Katza is an incredible fighter. and that is her skill. And she is kind of working as an enforcer for her uncle, which is the king of this kingdom. But there's more going on than that, and maybe she's not totally on the same side as her uncle. Yeah. It is a really good exploration of sort of belonging and finding yourself and that kind of coming of age, finding your own power and finding your own sense of self. So I think it's really good for that reason, and it's just, like I said, it's just really easy to read. It's really fun. There is kind of two storylines in this, and the second storyline leads on to the next lot of books, and yeah, I just thought it was really, really fun, and like I said, I keep saying it was well written. I really enjoyed the character of Katza. I enjoyed most of the characters. In fact, I don't think there's any characters I don't like. I thought they were well written, and yeah, great deal of fun. These two books are for read along / book club. So this is for the Last to Read book club, hosted by myself, Lana from Lore and Lullabies, and Ellie from Elgrey Books. And this is for the Graceling read along, hosted by myself, Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany, and Cara from Wild Book Garden. Obviously, all of those people's channels will be in the description below. By the time this video goes up, the live shows for both of these will have already happened. They are both taking place on my channel, so I'll link them below as well, and you can go and find out what we thought of them all. They will no doubt be spoilery, so, you know, just be aware of that. But yeah. And the final book that I read that I finished last night, so just before the end of the month, was Homeland, which is the first book in the Legends of Drizzt trilogy, which is within a bunch of different trilogies and books within a series written by R.A. Salvatore. So this is, I mean, it's published by Wizards of the Coast, who are the people kind of in charge of Dungeons and Dragons. It is very much a Dungeons and Dragons fantasy book. I feel like if you don't know that much about Dungeons and Dragons, but you like fantasy, you will probably, high fantasy, you will probably enjoy this book. I don't think you need to be a gamer, be totally up on all of the gaming, etc., but it probably helps. I feel like this is a kind of setting up for the rest of the series book, but it was still really fun. Having said that, but there's not a huge amount of kind of main storyline to really talk to you about, and we don't follow one particular character. There's a lot of different characters that we're talking about here. One of the main characters is Drizzt, and we're basically following his life from when he was born up to when he's in his kind of late teens, early 20s, and he is a drow elf. Drow elf are the dark elves, the evil elves. They are the followers of the Spider Queen Lolth, who is a god. They're all very evil, and everything they do is very malicious and evil, and they're all about death and mayhem and murder. Like I said, I thought it was really well written. I really enjoyed the writing style. Very simple and straightforward, but nicely descriptive at the same time. A very kind of standard high fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Dungeons and Dragons type of book. But yeah, I had a good time with it. I thought it was really fun to read. Definitely interested in reading the rest of the series. Don't know when I get to them. It's not a super high priority, but definitely interested in reading them. In Core Pile, I gave it 6.86, which is 3.5 stars as well. And I don't even know if I told you about Graceling. I also gave 4 stars. I gave 7.57, which is 4 stars. So those are all the books that I read throughout the month of August. So I'm going to talk you through some stats now. This is my end of the month page. I have decided to break down genre and category this month as well, so I haven't been doing that, but I do that this month. So yeah, so I read 9 books, which worked out at 3,383 pages, which I'm pretty happy with. The average rating was 3.94. I read 3 fantasy, 2 romance, 2 thrillers, 1 sci-fi, 1 paranormal. 6 were adult, 2 were young adult, 1 I would say was technically new adult, and no middle grade. My favourite book was Terra Nullius, as you can probably tell, and my least favourite book was The Silent Patient, because of all the reasons that I mentioned. So yeah, that's it. That's my wrap up. please comment below if you have read any of the books that I read in the month of August. Let me know what you thought of them. Did you like them? Did you not like them? How was your reading month? Comment that below as well and let me know that also. If you would like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then leave me an elf emoji, because the last book that I read was a book about dark elves. All of my social media details are listed in the description below, so if you'd like to go and follow me on any of those other platforms, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, like I said, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you next time.